Hello pretty people, welcome back, and if you're new here, welcome. I'm Izzy and I run the sustainable living blog, the Quirky Environmentalist, as well as this here YouTube channel. Today we are talking about some extinct animals, as you can probably tell by my dungarees and by my bedsheet. I'm a big fan of dinosaurs, though we're not talking about dinosaurs today. We're talking about actually prehistoric animals that have lived somewhat into the modern era. I've been into the natural history of the world since I can remember. Recently I've been watching an awful lot of PBS Ians and even more recently Benji Thomas, so they have inspired this, and some of the animals that I will be talking about I did discover through their videos. Now, what does this have to do with environmentalism, you may ask? Well, it doesn't necessarily have to have anything to do with environmentalism, I just want to talk about it. But understanding why recently extinct animals went extinct can help us keep the animals we know and love today alive, especially when the reason for a lot of their extinctions is, spoiler alert, us. So today we're talking about 5 animals that went extinct not too long ago. Well, I mean, technically we're talking about 3 animals and 2 birds, but that didn't have quite as catchy a title, so... First up on this list is the animal that inspired me to make this list, and that is Stella's sea cow. This 8-meter long sea cow, otherwise known as Hydrodamalus gigas, lived around the Commander Islands in the Bering Sea in the 1700s, and they went extinct in the late 1700s, just 27 years after they were first discovered by Europeans. Almost everything we know about this amazing sea cow comes from the work of George Wilhelm Stella, who got shipwrecked on an island in the Bering Sea in 1741. These are thought to be monogamous, very social animals, weighing anything from 4,500 to 5,900 kilograms. And due to their massive size and buoyancy, it's thought that they spent all their lives floating on the surface of the water in coastal regions, eating sea kelp and algae. But it was their huge size, social grouping and complete lack of fear of humans that is thought to be their demise. Russian sailors and hunters who came around these Commander Islands hunting for sea otters for their fur ate the Stella sea cow, and within 27 years, as I said, they were extinct. They were hunted at over 7 times their sustainable limit and gone from the Copper Island by 1754 and the Bering Island, their last home, by 1768. Though it's thought that the giant sea cow may have been on its way to extinction before the Russian hunters finished them off, as fossils of these animals have been found from Monterey Bay in California to Honshu in Japan. It looks like their range was massive, and it may have been early humans that killed them for food and drove them into their last habitat around the Bering Sea. Closest living relative now are the Dugong and Manatee, both of whom are beautiful animals currently vulnerable to extinction. The Stella sea cow really demonstrates the impact that humans have when they don't see a finite resource as finite, and especially ones that are easy pickings like the Stella sea cow. Next up we have the poster child of extinction, the one that everyone knows, which is the dodo. This 1-meter tall flightless bird lived on the island of Mauritius and succumbed to extinction in the late 17th century, less than 100 years after it was first discovered by the Europeans. It's believed to be many different birds. The dodo is actually part of the pigeon family, and its closest living relative is the very colourful Nicobar pigeon. Despite being the poster child of extinction, we don't actually know that much about the dodo. Illustrations of the bird are the primary evidence for its visual appearance, and well, they vary quite a bit, and it's believed that only some of them were drawn from looking at real dodos. It was believed to be a fat, clumsy and stupid bird, but based on its relation to pigeons, it's actually probably quite intelligent as a bird, and its evolution on a small island meant that it didn't need flight or to be scared of humans, and so when humans arrived, it didn't really stand a chance. It was hunted by sailors and invasive species that the sailors brought, taken into captivity and overfed to be eaten. This quick loss after its first discovery is what made the dodo the poster child of evolution, as it was the first time that humans were really faced with the idea that they could wipe a species off the face of the earth. Just like the Stella sea cow, it was just too easy pickings for very greedy humans. Next up, I'm not just talking about one animal, but I'm talking about the group of giant sloths that were part of the superorder Xenarthra. Today when we think of sloths, we think of quite small creatures who hang from trees, and that's about it. But back in prehistoric times, there lived several species of giant ground sloths. They ranged from dwelling in caves in mountains to living on forests and plains, and there was even a subaquatic ground sloth species had to fend off carnivorous whale species at the time. They are an incredibly diverse group of animals which roamed all across North and South America in the prehistoric era. Weighing more than an elephant and at a medium size of about 3 meters and growing up to 8 or 9 meters, they were massive. The 20th century dung that looked fresh that was found in a cave in North America led on a hunt for the living ground sloth, but they'd actually been extinct for several thousand years in the area. But you can't really blame them for thinking this giant creature was still alive somewhere, as often skeletons are found in caves with hair still attached to skin. The extinction of most of these sloths came at a time of climate change, when the last ice age ended around 12,000 years ago, and it was believed that this was the main killer of these sloths. But there is evidence to suggest that humans did hunt these sloths, and one group of sloths on the island of the Antilles lived until much longer, maybe until 1500 BC. In the Caribbean, they were found to have lived until 4,400 years before present, going extinct just 1,000 years after humans arrived. It's still debated whether climate change or humans were responsible for the sloths' main demise, but the problem with this is that in a lot of areas in North America, human population growth and arrival in a lot of areas came at the same time as climate change, so it's really hard to draw a distinction between the two causes of extinction for many of these animals. But the fact that many sloth species survived on islands past the end of the Ice Age and only went extinct once humans have arrived really does suggest that humans played a big part in the sloth's extinction. Today, only 10% of sloth species survived, and all of these are our small friends like the 3- and 2-toed sloth that hang from trees. These were actually the oddballs of the sloth family that ended up surviving. It is likely because they weren't very easy pickings or a very large meal for prehistoric humans. One thing we do have the giant sloth and other megafauna of the prehistoric era to thank for is avocados, but I'll save talking about that for another video. Now, when we think of really weird and wonderful creatures, your first thought may be Australia and New Zealand, and that's where the next bird species is from. It is the moa. The moa consisted of 9 species of flightless bird which lived in New Zealand, ranging from 3 meters in height to the size of a chicken. These were a pretty diverse group of flightless birds. When thinking of giant flightless birds, you probably immediately go to ostriches, emus, cassowaries, and you may think that one of these species might be the moa's closest relative, or even the small kiwi, a flightless bird which also lived in New Zealand. But the closest living relative of the moa is actually the tinamu, a tiny flightless bird from South America. The kiwi is the closest living relative of the giant bird, the elephant bird, which was another gigantic flightless bird which actually lived in Madagascar. It seems that a lot of the species of flightless birds we have today and the extinct ones actually lost their ability to fly separately in a nifty bit of convergent evolution. Its one main predator was the biggest eagle ever to have existed, known as the Haas eagle, but when the Maori first arrived in New Zealand in just 1200 AD, within 100 years the moa was extinct, and so was the Haas eagle, as it no longer had any food. There were some unconfirmed reports of the moa's existence in the 18th and 19th century, but whether these are true, we will probably never know. You know, weird things happen when you end up on an island. Birds lose their flight and, well, things get really tiny, and that happened to elephants over and over again on islands off the coast of what is now southern Europe. When big animals like the elephant end up on islands, Competition for food and space often means that they evolved to get smaller and smaller. And as the Mediterranean islands flooded and got isolated time and time again, more and more elephant species came over and became, well, dwarf elephants. And so that meant varying sizes of different species of dwarf elephants living on these islands. Had heights of around 1.5 to 2.3 meters. Yep, those are around human heights. An interesting fact about dwarf elephants, they were thought to be the reason for the myth of the Cyclops in ancient Greek mythology. Their skulls are often found in caves off the coast of Greece, and well, they kind of look like a cyclops with giant teeth and what looks like one eye socket. You can't blame humans for thinking that they were giant one-eyed humans, I guess. Even a dwarf woolly mammoth population living on the island of St. Paul near Antarctica and surviving until 6000 BC. Some of the last populations of mammoths to survive, they reached heights of 1.5 to 2 meters. There are also modern elephants in Borneo, sometimes confusingly called dwarf elephants, though these are technically a pygmy variety of elephant. They reach 72 to 90% of the size of their Asian elephant counterparts, which is around 2 to 3 meters. Extinction of these tiny elephants is again thought to be due to humans arriving on these islands, but that is yet to be proven, so these currently are a tiny mystery. And that is that. There are countless more prehistoric animal species that were weird, wonderful, and have very similar extinction stories to this. And I think that we got a little bit of explaining to do. What this really teaches us is what happens when humans see resources as finite, not hunt responsibly and sustainably, and really just exploit the world for all it's worth. Which, we still seem to be doing. Anyway, I had a really good time researching and finding out more about these wonderful animals, and although it's not my usual content here on the Quirky Environmentalist, I do think I might be making more dinosaur or at least prehistoric animal style videos, so let me know if you want to see more of this, because I'll probably be making more anyway. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you next time. Give this video a like if you liked it. Give me a subscribe for more. Check out my blog, again, blog post in the description. You can read about this and see all the funky little edits that I did of me alongside these species. It was a good time. I had a good time. And yeah, see you soon.